Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European Racing Test Race here at the circuit at Hills in Canada. As you can see, we are getting ready to get underway. We have 10 drivers, kind of similar to what we saw last time out back at Silverstone for the British test race. But Canada a little bit tighter on those straights into those corners, so might be seeing a bit more wheel-to-wheel action in that sense, but overtaking on a whole is generally more tricky here at the Canadian circuit. As we say that, we have our first drivers making their way out onto the track, and it is the Ferrari of Pasiek who will make his way out of the pits and lead ERS onto their first outlaps here at Villeneuve. Through the Vettel corner, as I think we can now title that. But who else is on an outlap? We have Niksana, Jeb, and Silence all on their outlaps. I'm trying to remember who was quick from the British test race, but I can't remember. I don't think any of the drivers who are currently out were up at the front, as far as I can remember. I think Pasiek was, I think he was around 5th or something like that, but again, I can't say for certain. Raggy had a bit of an unfortunate race in Silverstone, a few issues, and Ixan already with a 5-place grid penalty after a collision with Jeb, as Pasiek a little bit iffy through the final chicane, won't want that on his hot lap, which he does, and now begin down into 4th gear for turn 1, drop it right down into 2nd gear for turn 2, back on the power, bit of a snap of the back end, and he really has to catch that, and that is, here's our lap over and done. Who else is on a hot lap? Jeb is on a hot lap, his front wing, it does look like it's all intact, so thankfully that collision that he had with Niksana has not cost him any damage at all or any time as he makes his way to the end of Sector 1. It will be a 20.4, takes as much curve as possible into turn 6, back on the power out of 7, looking a little bit slow so far, just a little bit tentative with the power is Jeb, as a down into 8 and 9, very aggressive on the throttle, and he ends up drifting out very wide, but able to keep it within the track limits. And you can see that he is racing on a controller just from those steering inputs, very digital, or a lot more digital than they would be if he was on a wheel. And you can just see just correcting steering on the straights, but he gets a nice big slipstream from Caton, he gets well out of the way. So good to see the Alfa Romeos working together as, oh no, that's a Jeb into the wall. And he's actually going to compromise the exit of Caton as he almost reverses into the McLaren of Pemi. And that's going to actually compromise Pemi's run, as Jeb will wait before going. And, oh, come on, Jeb, you're using my racing number as well. That's unacceptable. As Jeb's going to do a bit of a 3-point turn and spin it into the pits, as he doesn't quite get the spin. We've got a Rangunathan moment. Sorry if you're watching this back, Jeb. I had to. However, that being said, Caton is on his hot lap right now. And again, Caton and Pemi did have their runs out of that chicane ever so slightly compromised. So maybe that will cost them half a tenth to a tenth, but it shouldn't be overly significant. Caton makes his way down into turn 10, drop it down into 2nd gear. Should go into 1st just to get a better drive, but something that we have been noticing with all of the tier 3 drives is that they just play it that little bit safer by only going down into 2nd to avoid getting any wheel spin at all. Here we go, down into the final chicane. Fairly decent run, kisses the wall on the exit. And Caton, can he beat the 11.3? No, he cannot. Over a second down on Valu, who currently has provisional pole. But Raggy across the line, 109.7. He absolutely stomps everyone with that lap. And now the only one out on a hot lap right now who can beat Raggy is Tiger. In the second of the two Haas's, and approaches the end of Sector 2. 43.0 as he does drop it down into first gear. And again, you know, these are just little signs that you can see on how drivers can just improve that little bit, make that little bit of extra gain on the lap, especially in qualifying as well. Tiger into the final chicane. Doesn't quite take as much curb as he probably would have liked. It's already slower than Raggy. Can he get ahead of Caton? Yes, he can. 300ths up on the Alfa Romeo now. Who else is on a hot lap? Jeb is a little bit closer to starting his lap, and he'll be hoping that he doesn't run into a wall this time. He's also decided to go for the medium tires, which is fairly clever if he's not comfortable that he can get right up at the sharp end. Only 10 drivers, that does mean that all drivers will be starting on the tires, will be starting on the tires that they qualified on. So those mediums just could give Jeb that alternate strategy, which may help him out absolutely massively. Down into turn 2 goes Jeb. And we're going to take a look at Silence now. Who's going to be starting a hot lap of his own into turn 1. Drops it down into 4th gear now. Down into... Actually, he holds it in 3rd through the right-hander. That's going to cost him a little bit on the exit. And now into the chicane of turns 3 and 4. Nice and smooth. No issues with the back end. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. That must be for turn 1 because Silence has approached the end of said sector now. Starting Sector 2. A little bit hairy on the exit. Bouncing off that rev limiter as under the bridge we go. Down into 4th gear. Very easy to run wide through the chicane, but no such scenario for Silence as he makes his way down into turn 10. Nice and late onto the brakes, but goes too late and downshifts one time too many. Can happen to the best of us. ERS Open and Silence. I think if he can get into those 110s, he will be happy, as it is currently a 1-2 for horses. Down into the final chicane we go. DRS Open or maybe not open, and it's a decent time, 1:10.8, just 1/10 shy of Tiger, but Raggy absolutely stomping here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And now what about Jeb? He did it in 11.3, but he's a 10th up on this lap. So Jeb definitely has more pace than he was letting on his opening lap, as that might have been a cut, as Pashik goes fastest with a 1:09.3. Can Pemi beat this? He's on the back straight right now. Looks like Raggy might have to find a little bit more time. Olibop's gone 3rd in the Mercedes as Pemi jumping over those curves, and now the run to the line. There's going to be a 1:09, no, 1:10.3, but it is invalidated. That would have been enough for 3rd had he completed the lap, as Jeb will dive into the pits. He was 2/10ths up on that lap, so hopefully for his sake, you know, he hasn't worn out those tires too much here. But Balu, half a second up right now, so he's on for a 1:10.7, so he's going to be right there in this battle that goes all the way up to 3rd place, especially if he can find another 10th or 2 in this final sector. Sector 3, just about the hairpin and this chicane. Down into 4th gear, jumps over the curb as much as possible. Let's see if that led to an invalidation. Across the line, a 1:09.0. But it will not count, as Valu has cut the track somewhere, and it must have been through that final corner, but he definitely has the pace for pole, having seen that lap. That was a very quick time from the Red Bull. What about Caton, though? He's 8/10 down on his best right now, so he's going to have to pulling out of this lap. What about Raggy? He's in Sector 2. Let's see what the delta is. Almost a 10th up, but he needs to find near on 4/10ths. He wants to be able to take a provisional pole. 8 minutes remaining in the session. Jeb, the only driver to have used the medium tires, but here we go with Raggy on the back straight. And down into turns 13 and 14. Nice and late onto the brakes and take as much curve as possible. But Raggy sideways on the exit, and he's going to come across the line. What's it going to be? 109.773. And that loss of the back end through the final chicane will definitely have costed him a tenth or two. But Caton, half a second up in Sector 1, so he's on for an 11.7 at the minute. Needs to find 4 more tenths to be able to battle with Valu and Jeb, but he runs wide and Caton decides to abandon the lap then and there. Nixana, after contact with Silence, is out of qualifying scheme. We didn't get a chance to see that incident as Caton. I don't know what Caton's doing here. Okay, sure. Silence on an out lap. Jeb starting a new lap. He's on the medium tires as well. And he definitely has time. We saw on his second lap on the set of tires, you know, he was looking to gain about 3 tenths, but oh no! He puts the power on while hugging the curb, and that's just going to spin you around. Just no grip on the curb. You're not going to find any traction. The same thing when you do that a track like Bahrain, into that right-hander. If you touch the curb, it's fine. But it's when you keep it on full throttle and touch the curb, then it's an instant spin. Okay, things just going bad to worse for Jeb as front wing end plates flying everywhere. Silence, so won't make the same mistake through turn 2. Back onto the power now, down into turns 3 and 4. Could have taken a little bit more apex into 3 potentially, but it's looking clean so far. Let's see what the delta is. 3 tenths up for Silence, so this will already take him all the way up to 3rd place. But Silence very, very iffy on the exit of turn 7, and now on the short straight before turns 8 and 9. He brakes very late and collides with the wall as well, but that doesn't really seem to compromise his run too much. Let's see what the delta is. He was almost 4 tenths up, and he's lost all 4 tenths, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Silence diving into the pits this time around. However, Pemi is the driver I want to ride on board with, because we saw him do a 19.0 on his previous lap, but it was invalidated. So, wait, sorry, that wasn't Pemi, that was Valu. So Valu's a driver to watch out for. Let's see what Pemi can do, though, in the lone McLaren. Down into turn 10, into first gear, short shift up into second. He runs the reds just a little bit, and a fairly good exit as well from Pemi. Onto the casino straight, and get ready to spot your braking point into turn 13, just at about 90 meters. Take as much curb as you can, don't have a raggy moment, and they won't take the shortest line to the start finish line. 110.4, that's enough for third, 1/10 ahead of Olibop. Speaking of Olibop, he's on a lap now, but he's 6 tenths down in sector 1. What about Tiger Racing? He's in the final sector, into the final chicane. It's a clean run. He needs to find almost a second to get on the front row, and it's looking quick, but it's not quite enough. A 101.10.0 for Tiger will get him third, but it's only provisional. Now Silence, nope, Silence is going to abandon lap. Now what about Tiger? He's 6, nope. I'm not sure if he just set his fastest lap. Let's take a look as he comes across the point. Ooh, practically dead even with his previous best time as he makes his way onto the straight before turn 8. Got your braking point just after the shadow starts. Pashik has retired from the session as, oh no, Tiger into the wall. And that's going to be him going right around. He's got enough time to get to the pits and start a new lap, but he needs to spin this around quickly. He can't waste any time at all. Hopefully no one is behind him. No, no one is. What about Olibop? No, he wasn't able to improve. Tiger Pashik, we don't quite know what happened to him. What about Caton? Let's see what his sector 1 delta is looking like. 6 tenths up. And oh no, he runs wide into turn 3, sorry, into turn 6. And we saw this last time. He was up on a quick lap and then he ran wide here into turn 8, but he doesn't do that this time. However, does get a lot of understeer into the chicane, and maybe he just needs to reduce his rear wing just to get a little bit more bite on the front end. Be a little bit more aggressive with those gears. Just downshift that one extra time to get that front end to bite a little bit more. But Caton onto the casino straight. Once again, get ready to spot your braking point. He can come into the pits and get out to start a new lap, or he can finish his lap, and he will decide to go for the latter option through the final chicane. And let's see what it's going to be. Is a 111.7, 4/10 of a Jeb, as it will be the Alpha Boys at the back. However, Jeb, he's going 9/10 quicker at the moment, and he's going to be looking to get right up there in this battle for 4th place, which is where Pemi is currently sitting. DRS will be opened and across the line for Jeb. 109.8, but it is invalidated. And that is heartbreaking for Jeb. Would have picked up a 3rd very quick lap on these soft tires. He's going to be one to watch out for in the race. What about Olibop? He's still going out, but these are very old soft tires. So I actually hope here for Olibop that, I mean, let's just take a look. Actually, let's ride on board with Valley, because I have a feeling this is going to be the fastest lap of the session. 109.0, that's what he set last time, and look at him riding on that rev limiter on the exit, quickly down into 4th gear, ride as much curb as possible into the right, left, and now straight back on the power, pull it over to the right before dropping it down into a 3rd gear. Little bit of understeer, but back on the power, careful with the back end, but it's all nice and neat. Olibop with that 110.5 butt value. Lay onto the brakes, down into 3rd gear, back on the power. Maybe could have got on the power ever so slightly earlier, but this is looking quicker from a value. 1/100th slower than that, 109.0. And Valu is on target to take a pole right now. ERS opened. Plenty of ERS for the rest of the lap. Yellow flag in sector 1 and 2. That might be Caton, but Value super late onto the brakes. 4th gear over the curbs. Doesn't even touch the wall. A little bit on the grass. That'll cost him 1/10 or so. And across the line for a 109.7. So Value, that is unfortunate for him. Just couldn't quite find the time. And, the deltas from Sector 1 and 2 weren't on the 109.0. It was on his previous best, which was a 110 point. I can't remember what it was. But there we go. Value abandons the lap. What about Raggy, though? He's just started his lap, or no, he's just completed a lap. 109.7. Wasn't able to improve. What about Silence, though? He's 2/10 up into Sector 1. Let's take a look at Raggy. What is this Sector 1 Delta time looking like? He's 800ths up, so could improve, but I don't think he's going to be enough to jump ahead of Pashika. Silence makes a big correction, but let's see what the Sector 2 Delta time is looking like. 2/10 up for Silence, so he can be right in this battle with Pemi, but runs wide into turn 10. Hopefully that won't cost him too much time. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. That was a Jeb, I do believe. And hopefully that won't affect Raggy's time at all. Down into the chicane we go. Silence back onto the power and across the line for a 110.5, and just shy of Hemi, but enough to jump ahead of the Mercedes of Olibop. So that's qualifying concluded. Pashik picks up the win ahead of Raggy and Valu, as a Tiger Racing takes 4th with Pemi in 5th, Silence 6th, Olibop in 7th, Jeb in 8th, Caton in 9th, and Nixana in 10th place. And sadly, Olipop won't be able to join. I don't know. Um, yeah, I know it's Game Crush, but I've put it to the admin, so um, let's see what they say. Um, as we have begun our formation lap, so um, yeah, I don't know what is going to be resolution, so as to speak, but yeah, we'll wait for the admin's decision as it's their call at the end of the day. Um, I think the likelihood is that we're going to continue. Like, it's not my decision at the end of the day to decide whether we make or not. Hey, that. Also, don't forget to leave any messages if there's anything I could do to improve screen quality, etc., etc. Always happy to take on some feedback. However, drivers making their way on the grid as sadly Olipop, I don't know if going to be able or not. And we might just be down to 9 runners for the test race. Guaranteed points for all, as long as no one gets disqualified. Isn't that lovely? Here we go, waiting for the red lights to begin the Canadian test race for Tier 3 of the European Racing Series. And the revs rise, and away we go. It's a really good start from Raggy, who's already looking towards the outside, but Valu has a little look to the inside. There's contact, and Valu goes a little bit sideways, but it's Pashik from Raggy from Valu as behind. We can see the heart of Tiger getting very sideways, and he's dropped all the way down into 7th place now as Nixana getting close onto Silence on the straight into turn 6 and 7. Too far back to have a lunge on cold tires as well. But your big winners are Nixana up into 6th place. Tiger losing 3 points is your big loser. Jeb, the only driver starting on those medium tires as well, so he'll be coming back into this race as the race progresses. Up ahead, you can see everyone closing on Pashik, but Nixana down the inside into the hairpin. Silence will get better drive on the outside and should be able to hold on to the position, but up ahead, Raggy is really closer to Pashik, and we have to keep an eye on this battle for the lead as Raggy takes a look to the inside, but he will slot behind. But the same will be said for Silence, and in fact, he loses a lot of time trying to take a look down the inside into the final chicane. And actually, something's happened to Raggy. So on the exit of the chicane, he must have made a mistake. Has he clipped the wall? Because he's down into 3rd place. He was in 2nd, right on the tail of Pashik. So you have to feel that he made contact with the wall or something happened. Front wing still intact, so he must have just got sideways on the exit. That's the only thing I can think of. Jeb up into 8th. Tiger Racing loses a position, but Jeb runs wide on exit, and now Tiger will have the inside as we make our way down into turn 8. And Jeb will be forced to yield the position. But look at Niksana down the inside of Pemi. He's already got past Silence. That happened earlier this lap as Pemi makes a tap with the wall. But Niksana up into 4th place, and he can now begin hunting down the guys up ahead in the battle for 1st place. But Pemi right on the tail of Niksana, and he's not done just yet. He'll have a look to the inside, but he has to back out of it and slots him behind as Jeb retires from the session. And you can see back there, so he's just binned it into a wall. We can see it out of just at the back of the camera shot, and it looks like he's just turned into a wall and DNF'd himself. He was too far back from Tiger Racing to have made contact on the straight, I think. So, I mean, I might be wrong, but we saw the aftermath, and where he was positioned looked a little bit iffy. Okay, so Jeb's games crashed. We just saw on Discord. A lot of people having game crashes. It seems rather odd, but there we go. Nothing you can do when it happens. However, Niksana starting to pull away from Pemi. Can he close into Raggy, who is at the back of this 3-way scrap for 1st place? But there were 10, then there were 9, and now there are just 8. As up ahead, Kaiten and Tiger Racing, they're battling for the wooden spoon right now. Kaiten on the inside, more specifically Tiger around the outside. Oh, Kaiten hard into the wall on the exit, but he gets a good drive from it, and he might be able to pick up the position, but with a damaged front wing, can he hold on to it? He'll run deep into turn 1. Tiger Racing should get the better drive out, but it won't quite be enough. However, Kaiten with a damaged front wing will be hugely compromised, and you can already see him running completely wide into turn 3, and it's just a matter of when, not if. For Tiger Racing, who looks for the switcheroo, but won't quite be able to make it the work. Up ahead though, take a look at this. Oragi on the back of Valu, who's starting to get those soft tires really working for him right now. And he gets a decent drive on the exit. He squeezes Valu onto the grass. That was a little bit questionable from Raggy, and now Valu has the RS, but so does Raggy. Raggy won't go fully defensive, and he'll leave room as Valu goes towards the inside into the chicane. But Raggy shuts the door and holds on to second for now as Pashik getting out of that 1 second zone. Raggy needs to use everything this lap to make sure he stays within that DRS range, as Niksana almost within a second of Raggy and Valu. Tiger Racing and Kaiten down into the pits, so this could be an early stop onto the mediums, and it will indeed be, and maybe he'll try to take those mediums to the end of the race. Canada, not a track known for heavy tire wear, and those mediums might be able to last the 30 laps. Otherwise, I feel that maybe the hard tires would have been a better shout for Kaiten at this stage in the race. However, let's see how his race progresses. Niksana within a second of Valu and Raggy, who is closing back in onto Pashik. So Raggy is showing his pace. Remember, he did qualify in second place. It was Pashik who took first, and arguably it was Valu who should have taken pole. His lap did get disallowed when he would have taken it. Oh, that is big. That is big. Pashik losing the back end through the final chicane. And he's going to have to make a whole lap with the damaged front wing as well. Pashik gets out of the way of Silence, or Silence avoids, and Pashik overheated rear tires as well down into 6th place. And that is his race absolutely wrecked. Maybe even more wrecked than his front wing is. And all of a sudden, the 4-way battle at the front is now just a 3-way battle. Raggy leading from Valu, from Niksana, with Pemi a further 2 seconds back. And this is where all the action is. Everyone else has a big gap between each other. Let me know in the chat, guys, who you guys are pipping it to win. Raggy! Oh, Niksana really late onto the brakes, and he just gets caught out. Maybe Valu braked a bit early for him. And Niksana right into the back of Valu, and this is just perfect for Raggy. And now Niksana, I'm sorry, if he overtakes Valu here, this is a little bit dirty from him to actually go for this around the outside, and that's a little bit unsportsmanlike from Niksana after ramming into the back of Valu. But there we go, a bit of contact down into turn 1 as Niksana holds it around the outside. Will pick up the position as he gets a little bit sideways on exit. And Pemi now closing in as Raggy has stretched over a 2-second lead, courtesy to these two fighting. But Niksana, he's been making his way all the way up from last place, so you can't deny that Niksana has pace and has been making good progress through the field as Pashik and Tiger racing into the pits after Pashik getting front wing damage, losing his back end through the final corner. Maybe he thought, I'll go for the Wall of Champions, then said no, and went into the opposite of the Wall of Champions. So whatever you'd want to call that. Wall of not champions. There you go. However, look at Niksana's pace. Already gained half a second onto Raggy. But Niksana does have fresh soft tyres, or we started with fresh soft tyres. Raggy had to start with the soft tyres that he qualified on. So Niksana should have that slight little edge over Raggy, you know, by a 10th or so a lap. As into the pits we go. Look how late Valu is on to that pit limiter line. And he gains so much time onto Niksana. But early pit stop onto those medium tyres now. Valu, can he actually gain any time here? If he can jump ahead of Niksana, that would be pretty impressive. But no, he cannot. He's right on the tail. So here we go, out of the pit. So Pashik's race might not be done just yet, but he needs to gain a lot of time as Pashik making his way through the final corner now. About 15 seconds down on these three. Lost a lot more time than I was initially considering as Valu taps the wall. That could be, we have reduced the damage, so maybe he's got away with that without taking any damage to his front wing. But bit of a closer shave for Valu at the tight and twisty circuit, Jules Villeneuve. But look at this. Niksana on the tail of Raggy, has to brake fairly early. Maybe Niksana could have a dive bomb into the hairpin, but he'll look for the outside as Raggy goes defensive. He'll get the switch back on the curb. Curbs and putting on the throttle don't usually end well, but Niksana's able to make it work out for him. 2/10 behind DRS. Raggy all the way over onto the right. He's telling Niksana to take the long way around. And Niksana says, sure, bud, I'll do that. And takes the effective lead of the race. And now Raggy's going to have to defend from Valu. And it's one thing having qualifying pace, and another thing being able to translate that into consistent race pace. Raggy on the tail of Niksana as we make our way into the chicane. And now Valu's going to have a look into the left, right, but Raggy very late on the brakes, and Valu will back out of it as this three-way battle not done just yet. Let's take a look at ERS for these three drives. 27% for Niksana, 40% for Raggy, and 50% for Valu. As Raggy, you can see a puff of dust coming up as Raggy takes as much curb as he can into the left hand of turn 9, but Valu is the closest ever. The question is, does Raggy have the pace to catch into Niksana, who, to be fair to Niksana, is pulling away. Now 7/10 up, and Valu might try to have a look at Raggy. He's a little bit far back, especially with Raggy having DRS himself. He will just have to settle for third place right now, but Niksana was able to stay ahead, but Raggy just closes right back in with the second DRS zone. And Niksana just needs to save ERS and then have one lap where he just pushes as much as possible. Pashik with a 3-second time penalty as he looks to close in onto silence in 6th place. And actually, Pashik does pick up the fastest lap of the race, so Pashik's race pace is definitely present. However, I think catching up to this top 3 battle is too much of an ask. Maybe he can go for 4th as Raggy getting very close to Niksana, who's forced to cut through the corner. And Raigi's going to be lighting up after seeing that, and he's got to switch to the inside. He might look for the dive, but he's a little bit too far back. Nixana leaves the room, but slams the door shut, and that's really going to cost Raigi on the exit. And now Valu is on Raigi's tail. Raigi will have a DRS, and Nixana really needs these two to battle as much as possible, as Kaiten picks up a 3-second time penalty, but he's right at the back, and that's not going to affect anything at all. Yeah, but Raigi a little bit further back than he was from Nixana last time round. He was 4/10 back. He was right on the tail of Nixana on the eggs, or on the entry into turn 1. And you can see Raigi using a fair bit of that ERS, whereas Valu here, he's been saving a fair amount. Now Nixana just needs to put in a perfect lap, get that gap up to about 9/10 or so, but Raigi just not letting that happen, although he has a bit of a moment with the back end on the exit of turn 7. Nixana 4/10 up on Raigi, and Valu is still in this hunt. And Raigi slowly regaining some ERS, but look at Valu up to almost 70% on that yellow bar now, as the DRS will get plopped open. Is Raigi close enough? Yes, he is, and will be at least back on the tail of Nixana heading into turn 1. In fact, he's close enough to have a go. 2/10 behind as we make our way onto a lap 12 of 35. Could look for a lunge, but just a little bit too far back. And Raigi will be content just to sit behind the Toro Rosso for now. Save up that ERS. We still have over 20 laps remaining of the Canadian Grand Prix. But Pashik setting fastest lap after fastest lap, and he's found the move onto Pemi into turn 1. Now he's got 9 seconds to close in onto, past the silence into turn 1. But he's got 9/10 to close in, 9 seconds to close up to Pemi. He's got definitely enough time, especially if he's finding half a second lap, as Valu doesn't get the best of runs through 8 and 9. Raigi has to look towards the inside, but that's just going to compromise him. And Valu not going to be able to get the best of runs, but Nixana really having a bad run. And now Raigi, Nixana goes defensive, but will cut Raigi just a tad. As Ragi's not done yet, will look to get a better drive out of 2. But they're straight into 3, just a little bit too short for Raigi to have a go. Right on the tail of Nixana, maybe a lap 13 will be his lap to find a way through. Has a little think about going into turn 6. But again, he's had to back out of it, as Valu watching all of this unfold. He had to burn off a whole lot of ERS. As here comes Raigi down the inside into turn 8. Once again, Nixana slams the door shut. Raigi gets a little bit sideways on exit. And now Valu is right here. And once again, Raigi just needs to be a little bit more patient, you know. Don't try to go for the move into 8 and 9. Just sit behind and do it on the run into turn 1 or turn 13. As Raigi has been getting much better drives out of the final chicane, as Kaiten picks up another 3-second time penalty. That is his 3rd of the race, I do believe. I think that is 4th of the races. Kaiten really struggling. I'm not sure if he's got front wing damage here. There's a yellow flag in sector 2, and I'm not quite sure what that's for. However, Valu is really starting to drop off from this battle now. 6/10 down. However, Nixana knows that he needs a Valu in this battle to allow him to pull away from Raigi. If these two pull off by themselves, there's more chance for Raigi to be able to pick up the lead. If Valu's there to challenge on Raigi, then Raigi just has to be a little bit more careful, looking for those slingshots out of corner. But Raigi potentially closer than he has ever been to Niksana, who runs wide into the hairpin, but it's just by a little bit. And look how close Raggy is, 2/10 down as we make our way onto the casino straight. Caton retires from the session. Here we go. Raggy looks towards the inside as Niksana doesn't even put up a fight. However, Niksana thought he had a chance to hold around the outside, but Raggy says no and gives Niksana a taste of his own medicine. Caton leads the session, and there were 10. Now there are just 7. Valu trying to hold it close to Niksana. 51% on the ERS, but Raggy, does he have enough pace to pull away and take the win? 20 laps still remaining of the Canadian Grand Prix. We're not even halfway into the race. Five-tenths the gap separating Raggy to Niksana as Niksana runs wide, and now maybe Valu could have a go onto the Toro Rosso, but just a little bit too far back. Pashik now 6 seconds behind Pemi. Remember, that was about 8 point something seconds before Pemi falling back off from these 3. And the other thing I would like to know is, are we going to be seeing a 2-stop strategy coming through, or can these mediums actually last to the end as Niksana doesn't get the best of runs? And Raggy looking like he might actually pull away Niksana down to so little ERS. And these 3 once again bunching up together, but Raggy just needs to get a clean lap. He's 6/10 ahead, and he just needs to push for the rest of this lap as Niksana picks up a 3-second time penalty, trying to stay close to Raggy here. Gap remains at, actually is extended to 7/10. I don't think Raggy can pull out another 3/10 in the next couple of corners. Niksana pushing for all his life's worth. The gap is under a second, so Niksana will get DRS, but next time around, Raggy might be able to stretch out this gap by enough. Raggy a little bit sideways on the exit, and actually that's really gonna cost him. And that one little mistake will mean that Niksana will stay within that DRS range for so much longer. But look at the overspeed. Down the inside goes Niksana, and that will force Raggy to cut the corner just a little bit. And now Valu back into this battle. Maybe he could have a go into turn 1. No, he'll decide against it and just slot him behind for now. But one mistake from Raggy after such a good, quick lap. He had pulled out such a big gap over Niksana, and now he's got to do it all over again. If it wasn't for that mistake, he would have finished the lap maybe half a second ahead, and on this lap he could have pulled away once again. So the trick for Raggy right now is just sit behind Niksana, gain that ERS so that you can do one really quick lap as riding aboard with Valu. Raggy and Niksana getting very close together. Maybe a bit of contact, definitely contact between Valu and Niksana. And now Valu, I'm not sure if Raggy's trying to hold Niksana up so Valu can have a shot here. But there's contact. Valu gets onto the curb, almost goes the wrong way. He's going to be able to hold it, but Niksana not done yet. He's got DRS, and this is a fantastic 2-3-way battle we're seeing up at the front. Niksana will reclaim the position, but Raggy will slot in behind. He won't get DRS as it is a double DRS detection. And now the question is, can Niksana be the one to pull out this 1 second gap? I honestly feel that Raggy is the faster of these 2. And this is all going to come down to a mind game between ERS here. A mind game on ERS here, I should say. Also, don't count Pashik out of this race just yet. He's faster than all 3 of these guys. And he is closing in with every lap. And if these guys keep on battling, Pashik is just going to keep on catching up. If by lap 25 he's only, 4 seconds down, I think he can, join this battle. especially if we're going to be seeing a two-stop strategy coming. However, I think Valu, I think he's had enough, really. Also, if the soft tires only lasted 8 laps, oh, actually, we'll hold that thought because Raggy down the inside into the chicane. He'll pick up the position, but look at the exit that Niksana's going to get. And he's alongside, and there's a drag race on the start-finish straight into turn 1. Niksana with the inside, but he has to back out as Raggy has a DRS, and he has the overspeed. Now, Raggy, he's got 20% more ERS than Niksana. Can he just unload all of this right here and now? He's already pulled out a half a second gap, and Valu just falling back a lap off. Just can't stay. It's just DRS, and the fact that these two are battling, that's keeping him in contention here. Now, Pemi's picked up a 3-second time penalty, but that won't affect things too much, as Pashik will be picking up that position regardless. It was an 8-second gap between 4th and 5th about 5-6 laps ago. But here comes Valu, who's going to look for the inside, and he forces Niksana to go wide, and there's a little bit of contact as well, as that's an 8/10 gap from Raggy, and this time Raggy does not lose a back end out of the hairpin. Now he just needs to keep his focus for one more lap, and he will be able to get that 1 second advantage as Niksana. He doesn't get the best of runs, and now Valu is here. Perfect stuff from Raggy, while Niksana makes the mistake this time around. Valu, there's contact, and oh no, they go sideways. Will they contact with Raggy? Yes, they will. And that, I'm not sure. I think that's on Niksana. He really squeezed our Valu there, and Niksana just that bit too aggressive. I would like to get a replay of that, but sadly, I'm not professional enough. However, the bad news of this for Raggy is that it means that Valu is within a second of Raggy due to them cutting the corner of turn 1. Niksana gets very close onto Valu, and you can sense the tension between these two drivers already, as Raggy stretches out his gap to 7/10 once again, but Valu runs wide. Niksana into the back of Valu, and he's going to have a look on the casino straight. They're side by side, and Niksana has a DRS. Should be able to pick this one up nice and easy, but they're over a second down on Raggy, who is just focusing on his own race, and he dives into the pits. Niksana into the pits, looking for the undercut, so it doesn't look like we will be seeing the two-stop strategy. Hey, Nick. Oh my god, you would be a living legend. I would actually love you for the rest of my life. No homo, right? But Valu, within a second of Raggy. I don't know, Ronks. I don't know if that was on Valu or Niksana, because I need to see it again. I need to take a look at it again. But I think whoever's at fault, it's fairly cut and dry who's at fault. I just need to take another look at it to remember who. Because one person was squeezing the other for some unknown reason. But Valu, all of a sudden, he's found pace, and he's closed back up to Raggy, using everything this lap. Now, we've seen Niksana pit. The question is, will Raggy and Valu, will they follow suit here? Will they pit with those medium tires? And yes, they both come into... No, Valu decides to carry on going. Raggy dives into the pits. Now, where do they come out relative to Niksana? Because we've got another 14 laps or so to go, and oh no, Raggy gets held up by Pemi in the pits. So that's definitely going to be Niksana who should come out ahead. Raggy makes his way to the line, and here we go. Pashik into the pits as well. But Niksana, what's happened to Niksana? Something has happened to Niksana, because he has lost a whole bunch of time, and he's going to come out behind Pashik. And Pashik is only 3 seconds behind Raggy, so Pashik has somehow, in the pit stop alone, on that in-lap, gained about 4 seconds onto Raggy, maybe a bit more. So So this is actually super crazy, and all of a sudden, Pashik is right back in the hunt for the win. Niksana is pretty much out of this. You know, if we compare what pace will look like before pit stops on these medium tires, I honestly think that Raggy is faster than Niksana, and this is going to be a two-horse battle as Valu's going to dive into the pits. He's going to have the fresher medium tires of everyone, but... Oh, the 5-second penalty as well for speeding in the pit lane last time in. Is that why Niksana lost so much time? Did he have a 5-second penalty? It would add up, and maybe Raggy. I mean, Raggy and Niksana having a 5-second penalty would make sense in why Pashik has closed up so much. But why Niksana has lost so much time, I don't know. Something's happened somewhere, and something has happened to both Raggy and Niksana, but it's happened much worse to Niksana. And Valu, who did get a 5-second penalty, he falls well behind Niksana, so... And that's because of the front wing change that he had, so... Niksana and Raggy, I don't think, had a 5-second time penalty. This is a little bit odd coming in, as the comments in the chat for Pashik to get put into tier 2. We'll have to see. I think there was some talk about Raggy getting put in tier 2, and why is he in tier 3? Put him in tier 1. Okay, but all of a sudden we have a race back on our hands, because Pemi, who was slower than Valu by a fair bit, is now ahead of Valu. So Valu should be battling for 4th place at least. Then you've got Raggy, Pashik, and Niksana. And as you can imagine, Pashik is the fastest of all of these guys. In my opinion, Raggy should just let Pashik go and just try to stay within that 1 second gap for as long as possible to ensure that Niksana cannot catch up. And as we say that, Valu picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Niksana has 6, Pashik has 3, and Valu also has 3. 11.5 laps remaining of the Canadian Grand Prix. And the 10 drivers that did start are now down to just 7. We lost Ollie Pob right at the start, where he had a disconnect and couldn't get back in time for the race start. And then we saw Jeb having some kind of weird game issue where he just ended up driving into a wall as a result. And then Caton just being inconsistent and through an error of his own, I think he lost the back end through the final corner and ended up into a wall. I'm not going to lie, guys. I feel like if there's another test race, I want to be able to race in it. I want to see how I compare to these guys, especially if it's a track that I know. As Pashik picks up another 3-second time penalty. Been setting fastest. He set the fastest lap as well, so maybe pushing just a little bit too hard. Valu, as Pashik 1.5 seconds down on Raggy. He's closing in. Let's compare what their sector 2 times look like, and that's Pemi. Something's happened to Pemi. He's lost the position to Valu. Raggy a 42.8. 42.8 from Pashik, so pretty much identical split times coming in from your leading 2. Oh, that's Pashik touching the wall. Front end plate is still there, so hopefully he doesn't have any front wing damage. That would be a sad way for this battle to end, as Valu picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. So all of the top 4 now have 6 seconds worth of time penalties, with the exception of Raggy, who has absolutely none. And now all of a sudden, my opinion on this battle changes. Raggy should fight tooth and nail for this position. He seems to have the pace, at least, so that Pashik's only able to catch up by around about a 10th lap. Oh, Pashik has a massive moment. And the front end play is still there, but Raggy just keeping it clean, being consistent, and it's working wonders for him so far. I do want to put it out there. Niksana has really trolled this race because he started at the back of the grid, and I do believe he had tire choice because he DNF'd before he set a lap. So why he put on the softs, I do not know. He should have put on the mediums and then gone soft, and then he should have gone medium, softs, or he should have just gone medium hards, and or even hard mediums, hard softs, depending how long the hards can last. So this has been a bit of a strategy in from Niksana, who had the chance to make something work, and we saw how much pace he had at the start. And he would have been able to keep his nose clean, not battle with anyone, and I think he could have actually won this race if he had gone for those hards to start the race off with, or mediums. Alternate strategy is always better. But with 7 and a bit laps remaining, Pashik closing back in onto Raggy, but even if he's able to get past Raggy, he will not have enough time to stretch out a 6-second gap, maybe a 3-second gap. But again, I doubt that. It's just really hard to pull away out of that DRS zone here in Canada, as we saw from all the battling that Raggy, Niksana, and Valu had. Pashik is within that 1-second gap, so this lap around, he should be able to pick up DRS as long as he can keep this lap neat and tidy, as Pemi picks up another 3-second time penalty. Not going to be enough to demote him below silence, though. Niksana unable to close into these front two, as Valu 4.5 seconds down on Niksana. Sorry, Valu 4 seconds down on Niksana. And I think that we won't be seeing any more battles on track. It's just going to be this one here between Raggy and Pashik. As we know, drivers, it doesn't matter if you have those time penalties, you're still going to fight for the battle, as you do want to pick up the win on track. Pashik within that 1 second now, pretty close into turn 2. As Valu picks up another time penalty, and that is charged for third, pretty much over and done now. Pashik putting in a quick first sector, 5/10 down on Raggy. Oh, that's a bit of a moment on the exit with that back end, and you can really tell just how much he's pushing. Both drivers with even ERS at 25%, as Pashik gets a little bit sideways as he takes the curb on the entry into 8. As Niksana picks up a 3-second time penalty, so maybe the battle for third is back on. And maybe Pemi actually might jump ahead. I think he's got 3 time penalties though, so he shouldn't jump ahead. However, Pashik, DRS open, and he is right back into this fight for first. It's taken him a while, taking him about 5 laps to close in, but here he is. And on his first lap with DRS down the inside, he'll go of Raggy, and he will take the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. But he needs to pull out a 6-second gap over Raggy to be able to have a shot at jumping ahead after time penalties apply. The question is, what is the tire life looking like between these two? Silence picks up a time penalty, but again, that's not going to affect anything at all. Pashik is pulling away, but as long as Raggy can stay within that 1 second and close right back up heading into turn 1, he should be okay. Raggy DRS open. Saving some ERS as well, or at least trying to, as into the chicane, but Raggy a little bit wide on entry, and that's going to cost him. And now Pashik, that might be all that Pashik needs to be able to break away this lap. 6/10 up, 9/10 up on the exit of turn 2. And I think that's Raggy's chance of sticking within this 1 second zone. Over and done. He needs to use up this ERS right now to make sure that he is within range. And the same goes for Pashik. Use up everything to stretch out of this gap. And mode 4 being used by Raggy. He can hear my voice going through to him. And Raggy back within 6/10. He will be able to open up that rear flap. Make our way down the casino straight. Valu, 2.2 seconds down on Nixana, who's really falling back, so maybe some damage for Nixana's. Valu is closing in hand over fist, and this battle for third place is really on right now. Pashik a little bit closer to Raggy than last time, as Valu picks up another 3-second time penalty, so he has one more than Nixana now. But look how quickly he's catching him, and I just want to take a look, because Nixana must have some damage of sorts, because he's just lost a second to Valu over the course of a lap, and maybe, no, Pemi's a little bit too far away. Unless Nixana gets another time penalty, he should be at least able to hold on to 4th place. However, that being said, I don't think Nixana is going to make it easy for Valu, as Raggy 8/10 down on Pashik, a little bit further back than he was the last time round. Close enough to pick up the DRS. Won't be able to get anything to work as Valu. I think he's within that DRS detection zone. Actually, there it is on the exit of the hairpin. So he'll get DRS, and he should be able to get the move to work into turn 1. Raggy, half a second down on Pashik. Or Valu a little bit sideways on the exit. Won't be able to do anything this time around, and in fact doesn't get the DRS either. They'll have to wait until the end of this lap, as Pashik, he picks up another 3-second time penalty. So there is no way that Raggy does not win this race right now. 9 seconds of time penalties for Pashik, 9 seconds of time penalties for Pashik, none for Raggy. Raggy doing a good job of just sticking in that 1 second zone. You can't really fault Raggy. He's made no mistakes. People have made contact with him through no fault of Raggy's. And it's just been a clean drive as there's contact. And you knew that there was going to be something between these two. Nixana, what are you doing? I'm guessing Valu looked for the inside into the right left, and Nixana's just been a little bit too dirty. And now Pemi is within range of Nixana. Nixana's just wrecked his own race. And that's just silly. So silly from Nixana. And completely unnecessary. The question is, has Valu lost any of his front wing? It looks like it is all intact. But let's keep an eye on that gap between Pemi and Nixana, as Nixana picks up another 3-second time penalty. So I think now Pemi should jump ahead Nixana with 12 seconds worth of time penalties. .9 seconds is the gap from Nixana to Pemi. Keep an eye on how that evolves over the final couple of laps. Speaking of final couple of laps, we're on the penultimate lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. How the final few laps have really flown by. Raggy is close onto Pashik, and maybe he saved enough ERS to have a go. He's got 50 ERS. Keep it in mode 4, Raggy, for this entire lap. In fact, stick it in a hot lap. You have enough to do it. Don't turn down the ERS. Just go all out, gung-ho. You have enough to make it to the end of the race. But Raggy on the tail of Pashik. DRS open as we start lap 35 of 35. And that means it's a last lap dive bomb time. Raggy, how much does he have to give? How much life does he have in these tires over Pashik? Hemi closing in on Niksana, but just at too slow a rate. Pashik has for sure been the quicker of these two drivers, but that being said, Raggy hasn't needed to push as Valu picks up another 3-second time penalty. Does Raggy get the driver through the chicane? Is a decent drive actually, but he's going to be too far back to have a dive bomb. Both drivers have that red fuel light flashing. Who knows if they've saved enough fuel. Raggy though, he gets a pretty good run. Knocks it up into mode 4, but the same is for Pashik. Raggy, is he close enough? Will he have a look? One last opportunity for the Haas driver. Pashik doesn't go defensive, but Raggy is too far back, and it's going to be Pashik who picks up the win. Raggy gets a 3-second time penalty right at the end, but he will jump ahead post-mortem. As Valu makes his way into the final chicane, been a bit of a war-torn race for him and Niksana. But look how much, 12 seconds worth of time penalty is absolutely massive. And the same will apply for Niksana, who finishes 3/10 down. And Pemi, what can Pemi do across the line? Will he jump ahead? Yes, he will. Pemi will take a 3rd place, and he just does it as well. And, you know, and Valu and Niksana have no one to blame but themselves. And just Niksana, if he just didn't make that mistake, he would have stayed ahead of Valu even after penalties applied. Could have just not fought so hard. But there we go. Silence will take 6th. And it's going to be Tiger Racing who will be picking up at 7th and the final place. And in style, he loses his wheel across the line. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all that we do have time for. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Raggy picks up the win ahead of Pashik, who finishes ahead of Pemi. Valu takes 4th ahead of Niksana. Those two were battling ferociously throughout the entire race. Silence takes 6th, and he is the final finisher as Tiger, Kaiten, and Jeb all DNF. As I mentioned, that is all that we have time for. Congratulations to Raggy on the win. And once again, thank you very much for tuning in to the ERS Test Race. If you haven't already, you can hit ERS up with a follow on Twitter. Just check them up at European Racing Series. You can also find the link to the Discord server down in the description. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Stay fast, and I'll see you next time. Good night.